Rome Remastered has served as really fertile ground for some of the community's most exciting and ambitious new historical overhauls, and few mods exemplify this better than Scorched Ground, at once a visual revolution, a mechanical transformation, and an atmospheric achievement. Truly, Scorched Ground is not simply a mod, but a reshaping of the Barbarian Invasion experience into something sharper, darker, and more immersive. It is a vision of late antiquity pushed to its limit. War-torn landscapes, fractured empires, rising barbarian powers, and a collapsing, of course, Roman world depicted with gritty fidelity and artistic intensity. Developed with a clear passion for detail and world building, Scorched Ground turns what many consider a transitional period in history into a seriously dramatic saga of imperial decay and cultural rebirth. At the core of Scorched Ground is a deep commitment to historical and environmental storytelling in a way that I don't think I've ever experienced in a Total War campaign. The playable campaigns included in version 1.6.3 are expansive, and players can begin either in the Barbarian Invasion vanilla map for a more focused experience, or dive into the ambitious Stormbringer Gigantus campaign, a massive standalone overhaul built on a sprawling and visually overhauled campaign map. And there's also a unique provincial campaign, Spain 415 AD Last Stand, which zeroes in on one of the Western Empire's most embattled regions. Each campaign tells a story of decline, resistance, and transformation. The central campaign, though, of the Stormbringer update begins in 365 AD, a moment of uneasy equilibrium. The Roman Empire, still technically unified, is buckling under internal divisions and external pressure. Its enemies, from Sassanids in the east to Pictish confederations and Germanic tribes in the west, are waiting to pounce, and the player steps into this fragile world as one of 17 meticulously crafted factions, each grounded in its unique culture, military, and political context. And this is where the strength of Scorched Ground lies, in its factions, not only in number, but in identity. Every faction feels different, plays differently, and presents a new angle on the geopolitical chaos of the 4th century. The Roman Empire, still unified at the game start, is an overstretched leviathan with internal rot and a dangerous border to the east. The Sassanids, of course, powerful and culturally sophisticated, rise to challenge them with renewed vigor in this time of the campaign. And beyond these two pillars, there are factions representing both traditional enemies and emerging powers. The Vandals, Franks, Visigoths, the Huns all pose existential threats to Rome, but their paths are not simply defined by destruction. In Scorched Ground, they are factions with depth, agency, and purpose. The two really noteworthy factions worth talking about here are the Amazighs and the Celto-Pictish Confederation. These are factions I've never really properly seen in other mods of this time period, and they're really fun to play. The Amazighs are more than a placeholder barbarian faction. They possess their own religion, the cult of Owesu. They have a fully realized cultural and musical identity, great interesting characters to dive into and develop as well. The Celto-Picts, meanwhile, are not only distinct in unit roster, which I really love about them, but come with their own art set, portraits, UI, soundtrack, everything, effectively making them feel very much like their own sort of campaign within this campaign. The mod also introduces a faction I love, which is the Romano-Britons, as an event-spawned faction, emphasizing the historical fragmentation and regionalism of the crumbling empire. And this mechanic adds dynamism to the campaign. The world just doesn't wait for the player to play and evolve and conquer. It evolves with or without the player. It keeps growing and is totally alive. I really like the way the campaign plays here. It's not just the strategic gameplay and interesting depth and layering and events and different factions that Scorched Ground reimagines, it's also the feeling of playing. Namely, visually, the mod is nothing short of transformative. Gone are the bland, clean environments of original Rome Remastered, and in their place are campaign and battle maps, by the way, soaked in the evidence of war. Ruins dot the landscape. Watchtowers are larger and more imposing. Mines, traditionally a bit oversized and immersion breaking have been appropriately scaled down. Skulls, bones, and blood are no longer rare details. They are scattered across the campaign map and battlefield alike, constant reminders that this is not an age of glory, but of collapse. Now, if the campaign map of Scorched Ground paints the sweeping tragedy of a dying empire, the battles are where players truly feel the chaos of that decline, the desperation of trying to win, really battles that are totally against your odds. Like, battle gameplay in Scorched Ground is where the mod's visual ambition, mechanical complexity, and historical realism converge into an experience that is intense, unforgiving, and deeply, deeply immersive. This is not the Rome Total War you remember. It's slower, bloodier, and far more unpredictable. From the moment units deploy, the tone is different. Armies are no longer made up of tiny rows of clones. Thanks to fully 3D modeled armor and up to 4 variations per Roman unit, every formation feels like a cross-section of a real army, ragged at the edges, hardened by battle and loss, and reflective of the fragmented supply lines and mixed equipment of the late 4th century Roman army, right? An infantry might wear mismatched greaves, shields scraped by previous encounters, or tunics faded under harsh campaigns. This is not just aesthetic flair, it affects how players emotionally engage with their units, with the enemy. You're not just commanding icons, you are commanding men, battered, brutal, and mortal. And the first clash of army lines is where Scorched Ground really earns its name. Animations are more visceral, new blood and gore effects coat the field as soldiers fall, terrain plays a vital role in how units perform, and the mod's battle maps are cluttered with environmental storytelling, broken aqueducts, decaying forts, forgotten graves fighting among the ruins of past civilizations, both literal and symbolic. All of this enhances the atmosphere of every engagement, and there's a real sense that this is not the first battle to take place on this battle map, and it won't be the last either, which is a really interesting feeling I haven't really felt before in previous Total War battles I've played. Unit diversity is another standout because Scorched Ground uses an entirely original roster. No units are borrowed from other mods. Every army feels fresh. The Roman army, for example, retains its core heavy infantry but is noticeably more defensive, reflecting the historical transition towards static frontier garrisons. Cavalry units vary widely across cultures. The Sassanids bring elegant cataphract-style horsemen. Huns unleash terrifying, agile mounted archery who can shoot in all directions, of course. Even within similar cultural groups, factions have unique battlefield behaviors. The Vandals and the Saxons both field Germanic troops, but their unit compositions, morale profiles, and preferred tactics differ by a wide margin. The point I'm trying to make here, of course, is Scorched Ground embraces the asymmetry of this historical period. The Roman Empire may begin with powerful professional armies, but it faces attritional warfare from every direction. The Huns, on the other hand, may lack early infrastructure, but compensate with devastating mobility and harassment potential. Barbarians are not simply weaker Romans, they are guerrilla fighters, hit-and-run raiders, ambush specialists. This dynamic forces players to adapt their strategies, both tactically and strategically on the campaign. No two battles play out the same, of course, and no single approach works for every faction. Overall, even in its current form, Scorched Ground feels like a complete and cohesive reimagination of essentially Barbarian Invasion, but the future holds even more promise. A new update is already in development, focused on refining the visuals and mechanics even further. The developers plan to fix broken 3D models and texture bugs, restore several musical tracks that suffered from bitrate issues, and introduce additional factions and units as well. Perhaps most excitingly, a new campaign map is being built, a true global map vision that hints at an even broader geographical and historical scope. So essentially, Scorched Ground is not just a mod about the end of Rome, it's a mod about the end of an era and what comes after it. It portrays late antiquity not as a waiting room before the medieval period, but as a dramatic, violent, and formative crucible of new powers and lost legacies. From its grim visual storytelling to its intricate faction design, it offers players not only a better Rome Remastered experience, but a better understanding of one of the most pivotal periods in world history. And whether you play as the desperate Romans, the rising Sassanids, or the wild card Celto-Picts, one thing is certain: the world is ending. And in the scorched ground left behind, the seeds of the next world are already beginning to grow. And that's it for today, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video and found it informative. If you did, give it a like, drop any thoughts or questions in the comments section below, and let me know what you think of Scorched Ground and other mods you'd like me to cover on this channel next. Subscribe for more videos just like this, and thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.